Hey everyone, Mark the Movie Man here. Welcome to the Final Cut. So glad you could join us today. Got an interesting one for you. It's a feature film version of a short film we reviewed a while ago. It's got the same title. It's Dead Community Guild. This one is brought to us by filmmaker Emil Ink, who directed, wrote, edited, did the music for. They wore a lot of hats for this movie, which is set in a post-apocalyptic world. The bombs have dropped, and the remaining population has grown very barbaric and violent as resources get more and more sparse. Well, we follow two sisters who have suffered a major traumatic event during this post-apocalyptic era, and they are following strange radio transmissions that are promising an area, a community that is welcoming, offering hope, resources, and other almost too good to be true things, but they've got nothing else, so they decide to seek this community out. But in their search for this community, they get more than they bargained for, and soon they find their reality altered, and things aren't exactly as promised. And that's just scratching the surface here. Dead Community Guild is an art house, artistic existential, theological exploration into a number of things. And I say theological because it's a little bit implied in here, but there's definitely a lot to unpack in Dead Community Guild in a good way. There's a lot of themes going on in here. With our sisters, Cassandra and Becky, the theme there is really trauma and guilt and responsibility and the weight of all of that and trying to deal with that. Cassandra, played by Taylor Elizabeth Norman, really does a great job as the sister who has sworn to her parents and her mother specifically to take care of her younger sister Becky, played by Karen Collin. And we see the weight of that as well as the stress of just living in this type of world and, being chased all the time by mean and nasty people and witnessing some of the extreme things they have. So Cassandra feels that weight quite a bit, and we explore that. We explore how these two handle their grief, the responsibility, handle the challenges that they have coming across some violent folks, how they can try to take care of themselves. So all of that is mixed together with the relationship between these two. We also get two criminals in here where Emil actually is he shows up in the camera as well, but we have two villains in here who also end up looking for this community, and we see how that plays out, the lives that they affect, how they approach more innocent people, so their weight of sin on them for their crimes. There's no grief here or regret necessarily, but we do see how they handle this and how this area affects them due to their sin that they carry. And then we have a gang in here as well who are even worse than these two guys, and we watch how they explore this area and how it affects them. There are some time loop things going on in here which I thought were handled well in the editing. While it is a little bit Groundhog Day-ish, I liked it because for what you witness in between these events, it keeps it from just getting too repetitive and just kind of like, okay, let's move on. So that's handled well, especially when we get into a little more surrealism with especially the Cassandra character having a vision of the stranger, played wonderfully by Eric Roberts, who delivers this great monologue that is filled with some metaphor and some underlying meaning that you're going to have to kind of pay attention to. As again, this is a very artistic film, and I do say film because it was shot actually on film, a rarity for an indie production such as this. So they also had to make some specific choices with how they present things because film is expensive. But Eric Roberts really nailing his monologue, and it's a turning point for our Cassandra character and kind of proxy Becky character as well. So I liked that. We get Austin Vandegrift, who plays kind of the bookends of the film. He's the man on the road with a a fun guitar, which had a surprise to it, which we were introduced to in the beginning, which I loved. I loved that surprise quite a bit. And he kind of presents a starting point for you to start thinking about it, and an end point for you to think some more. Yeah. Now this has a lot of interesting things going on. The mystery behind the location will keep you guessing what exactly is going on. And as things play out, you may be able to piece together. I know what it means to me. I had a feeling like this area was like purgatory, and people weren't exactly being judged so much as they themselves are having to work some things out before they can pass on to either a great place or a not so great place. But that's just my own interpretation. I may be way off on it, but it is subject to interpretation. It's what you bring to this movie, and what you're going to get out of it is definitely some thought-provoking stuff. There's some great scenes in here as well. There's one in particular I loved. They did this shot of a woman in the woods played by Shandi Bethel, and no dialogue really, but she's got this wonderful old like Victorian type dress, and she's dancing in the woods, kind of like a siren type of deal. And then she switches into this transformation into something that was a big surprise that looked great and was very effective. So that's one of my favorite scenes in this film. And one of the probably my favorite antagonists is T-Bone, played by Nicholas Stevens. This is a very scary and foreboding character, and he and his gang are ones who are stuck as well in this area. And those guys, you're not quite sure if they're going to be able to find their way into the Dead Community Guild or not, you know, and I like that. We get a number of different crossing path stories done in a, I think, kind of not a non-linear timeline as well a bit for some of these events, if I was piecing it together right. But in the end, it is definitely going to give you stuff to think about if you like a more artistic, art house type approach to themes such as this, and some really cool visuals done here with the camera and editing and everything. With working with film had to be a big challenge. I think you're going to get a kick out of Dead Community Guild. Not going to be for everyone's tastes, but I think if you can stick to it, especially through the credits to the very end credit sequence, it will put everything into perspective for you if you still are kind of figuring out what exactly everything means in the film. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you quite a bit. Please subscribe. We already hit 3K, but we're going for 3,100 by the end of the year, and we can only do that with your help. I appreciate your support, and until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub.